Just a quick one before we get into this episode. If you're in the UK and you use supplements, I'd highly recommend checking out Reflex Nutrition, where they're giving up to 40% on all their range if you use the code PTRNT at checkout. I've been using Reflex for nearly a decade, with their microwave being one of my favorite whey proteins. It's grass-fed, hormone-free, and digests so well compared to most on the market. Check out their full supplement range, including all your transformation basics and plant-based alternatives on reflexnutrition.com and use the code PTRNT at checkout for up to 40% off. It's not long left now until the new book, Transform Your Body, Transform Your Life, is released. Sunday, 24th of May is the big day, and I can't wait for you to get your copy. Make sure you subscribe to our email list and social media for updates on book bonuses, previews, competitions, and giveaways. Exciting times ahead. On today's episode of RNT Fitness Radio, I'm joined by Kunaal Shah, the man whose transformation so far has inspired communities all over the city of Nairobi. His story is a truly remarkable journey that I'm excited for you to hear more about, as he defies all the problems so many are stuck with. From program hopping to paralysis by analysis to overwhelm to yo-yoing and all the repercussions that these bring. In this episode, we talk about his why, the different phases he's gone through so far, and the bit I loved about the most, hearing how the physical has been the vehicle for the greater good in his life. If you want to dive deep into the power of the journey, this is an episode you won't want to miss. How's things in Nairobi?
Yeah, all good. We're just carrying on with the current situation with the lockdown and limitations that brings in. But otherwise, it's good. I think we're in week 7 now of our lockdown here in Nairobi.
Yeah, similar to us.
We lost track of the days. We kind of just started self-isolating immediately. They announced the first case. We decided to just get on with adjusting to what's going to be the new normal for some time, rather than waiting and then struggling to adapt and everything. So
yeah.
more approach.
Where did you do your shoot? I heard you did a shoot on Sunday. I just saw the picture.
Yeah. So I just sent them off to Nathan a bit earlier. One of my friends has a gym that he opened up for me. On the sly. I hadn't initially planned to do a shoot. We were just doing an aggressive cut over 2 months, and I thought, you know what, I'm looking decent. Maybe I should just do it. Why not? Just do it and just try and compare and see if the investment phase is paid off, or I was just spinning my wheels. There's so much that needs to be done properly to build muscle. I've built muscle over the years, but in probably the least efficient way.
Yeah.
So this time it was a real test because it's a much shorter time horizon. And I think the longer you've been training, the harder it is to build muscle. It's in the beginning, you can pretty much do anything and it will work because your body's so, it's like a blank canvas, really. You can just put on muscle by doing all the wrong things. But after a certain point, if you're doing the wrong things, I guess it just doesn't work.
And what was the result like?
We had a chat with Nathan. I think there's been some improvement. So it's a bit difficult sometimes when it's yourself to be objective, and you can have really varying thoughts. But I think came in a bit leaner this time. I was about 1 kilo lighter, and I think I was leaner. The process itself was probably the biggest win for me. Because as you know, last time there was so many ups and downs with all the binging and restricting that comes along with it. And it was literally a vicious cycle that lasted into consolidation. And yeah, I think I only resolved that during consolidation. So this time the process was much, much smoother. The photo shoot wasn't a goal this time. It was just a kind of nice to have aspect. But the key thing was getting the process right, building on the lifestyle solution, putting in place all these things that, are really important in the long term, and not just, how many pounds have you lost, how lean are you, how good do you look on the day, but the overall thing. And I think this time it was a massive improvement from last time. it was a less stressful process, put my routines in place. The rate of fat loss even itself was higher and faster than last time. Not that was the focus. So I think in all aspects, there were lots of positives this time. And to be honest, that's my goal. It's just identifying what needs to improve and working on improving it. And, with the guidance of Nathan and all that, I think it's been a good start to the year so far. So looking forward to consolidating properly. So far already better than last time.
Yeah.
On day 2, and I think the difference is just a bit over half a kilo or something like that, or maybe even less, because I didn't remember to weigh myself on the shoot day. Whereas last time I'd gained about 2 kilos already in 2 days. Yeah. So
it's always hard the first time around.
Yeah. And no matter, I heard it so much from both yourself on the podcast and all your content, as well as Nathan, who directly told me so many times that you got to be very careful with the consolidation. And I learned the hard way. Let's put it that way. I learned the hard way, but I think it was a very important lesson for me to learn as well, because I gained 5 kilos in 8 weeks post shoot, and that was definitely something I don't want to repeat again, and I didn't want to repeat again. So I think I was a lot more careful during the entire investment phase. I stuck mostly to whole foods, even when the calories were fairly high. Even when I was doing 400 grams of carbs a day, I was still eating mostly oats and all that, because I just didn't want to leave anything to chance. And I think my investment phase was slightly shorter than I would have otherwise been if I'd consolidated properly.
Okay, yeah.
When you've gained already 5 kilos before you really hit a planned surplus, you've already lost that much room in terms of body fat before you start looking fluffy.
Yeah.
So I was very keen to not repeat that again. And in a sense, I've kind of now got a second chance to consolidate properly at a similar level of leanness and body weight. It's just so painful when you do it wrong the first time, because everyone knows how much effort goes into losing every kilo, and to just put it back on in a matter of days or weeks, and knowing that you're not, it doesn't make sense to then go and diet it off again, because it just becomes a kind of never-ending cycle, which I think you've talked about a lot from your previous cuts that have gone wrong and all that stuff. So, yeah.
I can completely relate. In 2014, I did this very similar. I had a very similar experience, and I spent a year yo-yoing. I was cutting, bulking, trying to get back to normal, and you just need to almost reset. It's the only way to really do it. I don't think your 5 kilos in 8 weeks isn't like the worst thing potentially, as you still have investment. But I think I get what your point is, in that if you want a proper period to build, you do need to set yourself up well after that dieting phase in order to give yourself that room to grow into and that muscle building buffer. Yeah,
agreed. Yeah, and having gone through the process now, having done 2 cuts, 1 investment phase, and now starting the second consolidation. I think you can always keep learning from the process, and there's always new lessons to take away each time you go through the process. There's always stuff you can fine tune and hone, and insights that you pick up on during the 5 stages as you.
So what would you say have been the key differences in this dieting period you just had now compared to before? I know you touched on like the potential falling off the wagon and the binges and those sorts of things, but do you have more insights into what was different this time around?
I think so. For me, in my case, I've always been a big eater, always had a big appetite, and that's something that has been difficult to control consistently. So what we did was, we agreed on coming up with a set meal plan. So end of February, we decided we're going to put an end date on the on the cut. So we said, we'll just do, I think we did 9 weeks. So once we put the end date, Nathan suggested that I stick to one fixed meal plan, come up with a meal plan based on the calories and macros it gives me, and I stick to it. So I think I really put some thought into it, having eaten various different foods over the last 18 months or so. I figured out what was so I focused on high volume foods that I enjoyed, and I actually cut out the liquid meals. So I was eating more solid food, high volume food, low calorie. I mean, it's basically what you guys preach, but I think I finally found what really works. So I was feeling more satiated. I had something that was there for my sweet tooth. So for me, that was Greek yogurt and strawberries and vanilla whey.
No gelato?
This time, no, because we were doing an aggressive cut.
Yeah.
So, but he gave me a fair bit of gelato in my carb up in the last 3 days of the peak week. So I was loving that because I hadn't had any for 8 weeks. So I replaced that with 10 grams of dark chocolate. So I was basically doing 4 meals, whereas last time I did 3 meals and 2 shakes. But I personally just don't get full with liquid meals and shakes and all. It really doesn't do much for me. Even if I have 2 scoops, I don't know. It's not the same as a solid meal.
So what were your meals that you were doing? What 4 meals did you have that were high?
Yeah, so my breakfast was 45 grams oats, a scoop of whey. For lunch, I was doing 4 eggs with 100 grams of veggies. That was red peppers and 150 grams of broccoli. Then the evening meals was 250 grams tofu with peas, and I put in cauliflower instead of rice, cauliflower rice. So that was 5 ounces, 140 grams. And I had then the last meal, which is the highlight of the day, was 250 grams zero fat Greek yogurt with a scoop of vanilla isolate and 150 grams of strawberries. So nice. That worked out to about 75 grams carbs, but a lot of volume. Was probably a kilo in terms of the veggies and the fruit. If you add everything up, and the bulk of Greek yogurt and all that.
Yeah.
So a lot more satiating than some of the other choices I made in the past.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that makes a big difference. And just for the listeners who are wondering why we're talking about gelato, Kunal's wife owns a gelato factory, which is stationed inside the house. Just to add to extra challenges. It's not that he's a gelato addict, although I think he's become one.
Yeah, no, definitely. And and we've since even our operation has expanded, and we have at any point we have 3 freezers with gelato at home stocked up. I even make the gelato these days with her.
Really?
Yeah. So like the last few weeks I've been making with her and stuff. So it's very tempting, the ingredients are there, the final product is there. We often have a bit of excess to give friends and family sometimes. So, you've got about a dozen flavors at any point in the freezer by the liter. So if you don't have a sense of some strategy or something in place, which, trust me, we took a while to tackle that with Nathan, you can easily fall to the binge and end up going in the wrong direction.
What was the strategy you guys put into place?
Well, so this was last time. This time I opted to just take it out of my meal plan.
Yeah.
Just to have more food. But strategy last time was to incorporate it in my meal plan during the consolidation, because we realized that I still hadn't fixed that underlying issue. And it wasn't possible to take it out of the house because we operate the business from home. So generally the strategy has been to, anything that triggers me, I get rid of it. If you don't have it there, you're not fighting your willpower and all that, because ultimately I think willpower is finite. Sooner or later you're going to crack. So we just incorporated it. I did some journaling. It was mostly being mindful of it, mindful of the process. And I think psychologically, when you're getting your sweet treat or your fix of the day or whatever you like to call it, if you know you're going to get it every day, it's not going anywhere. And you're basically reconciling yourself with the fact that, you know, as Nathan says, I'm going to quote Nathan says, food's always going to be there. It's not going anywhere. So you don't have to make up for lost time, catch up on eating it and all that. I think it's just understanding that concept. And I think through journaling and all that. So he made me journal while I was having my gelato, talking about how it feels and textures and taking your time to have it. I wouldn't say I did it for a long time, but I think I did it for long enough to appreciate it. And I think once it was there, once I had it for a couple of weeks, I wasn't even then bothered about having it every single day. So I wouldn't necessarily have it every single day if I didn't really feel like I wanted to have it. But I think it was a matter of reconnecting with the whole aspect of being mindful of why do we eat food, what do we derive from it, whereas, you know, just getting a tub out of the freezer and just having it directly out, you know, you measure a scoop, enjoy it, and know that you're going to get more tomorrow. You don't have to go and finish. So it's just, I think this whole process is something that just takes some time, because these are literally habits that, at least in my case, but I think many of our RNT family, we've built up over years and even decades, you know, binging, eating on the go, eating in front of the TV, comfort eating. There's all kinds of ways of doing it, but there's all these negative habits that don't serve us, that we've developed over time, that we have to first, I mean, obviously we have to identify that they exist and acknowledge them, understand why they don't serve us, and then come up with, as you say, three S's to how to solve them, or how to incorporate them, so that you can still have a bit of enjoyment during your journey. Obviously, there's times when you can do it, and there's times you can't do it. So I chose to take it out during this cut, because we went quite aggressive the last 2 months. I wanted to take a bit of a more aggressive approach. So the calories were quite low, and I said, you know, I don't need 200 calories from gelato every day. I'll try out the Greek yogurt and strawberries and protein and see how that works. And I have a bit of dark chocolate in my day as well. And I think that worked fine for that 8-9 week blitz.
What were some of the underlying issues that you were referring to, and that you journaled your way through, you became more mindful of? What was your reason for finding comfort in food?
I think that's a good question. I think it could be a number of things. It's I think growing up also, to some extent, the way we're disciplined and educated by our parents can vary. So when you're told no, you want something more. When you're told don't have that, you want it more and more. Whereas if it's explained to you why you shouldn't have it and so on, and you recognize that. So I think in my case, it was a case of just wanting those things more, because it's you shouldn't have it, it's not healthy. Whereas if you were given it in moderate doses and educated as to how to have it and so on. But to a certain extent, I think I also just have, I don't know, maybe it's a personality or what it is. But reflecting during this journey, I realized I've probably been binging since I was in my teens. It just didn't show up on my body because I was typical skinny ectomorph. I don't know whether it was a high metabolism, I was super active, but I always, I binged a lot over, it's probably a 2-decade-old problem. And I think it only became clear during that last few phases of the grind last year and the consolidation. Sorry, I don't know if that answers your question.
It was more like, so
rambled on there. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So it was more like, what you said, you've been binging for 2 decades, and if you don't mind me asking, what has been the cause of that? Like, what is the deeper underlying reason and the muck that's caused you to find comfort in food? And what have you realized in the past, say, 6 months that has allowed you to feel liberated from the need to continuously binge?
Yeah, I think it's probably just been boredom and stress. Yeah. Mostly just boredom, and then it just becomes a habit.
So you associate when you're bored.
It's conditioned behavior, you know. You know that at a certain time you're going to go and have this, or you're going to go and have that, because it's always there, you know. Growing up in Kenya, we always used to have all our Indian snacks stocked up in the house. So there's only so much fruit you're going to eat before you start reaching for the crisps and all that. But I think probably more boredom and lack of awareness of whether you're really hungry or thirsty, even for that matter. Because a lot of times you're not well hydrated, but you confuse the signals between hunger and thirst. Yeah, I would say that rather than like any more deeper psychological issue. That and the fact that it's generally there. So, you know, as long as it's there, you find a way to get to it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that we've done. You know, my wife and I, we just, when we do want to have these snacks and all that, we just get a certain amount for that specific meal or snack, and that's it. We don't stock up, we don't load up with all these things and have them there, because that's just going down. It's a recipe for disaster, really.
Yeah, I think the environmental association is a big one. And how have you, outside of just taking outside the house, is there anything you've done to break that connection? So when you're bored now or you don't have anything to do, what do you do instead? Or do you still have the food, but you're just aware of what you're doing? That makes sense.
Yeah. There's definitely a greater awareness thanks to journaling and reconnecting with why I started this process and this journey. And to a certain extent, I think I've also developed that thing of having a different identity, you know. It gets to a certain point where you even start questioning why you're doing this. Like in my case, before I signed up for RNT, there were times when I would literally just wonder to myself, like, why am I bothering with the whole fitness thing? Because on the one hand, I don't look and feel the way I want to, but on the other hand, I'm not enjoying life to the fullest. So I was still restricting myself to some extent with these things that, you know, people who are following an active lifestyle, or you're trying to have that lean physique. So I was kind of neither here nor there, and that's really frustrating. You know, when you're stuck in that spinning your wheels kind of zone, nothing seems to work, but you're still trying hard, and you're dieting maybe 4 days a week, Monday to Thursday, and then Friday to Sunday you give in. I think I went through that for a long period of time. So effectively, you're eliminating your deficit over the weekend, and you're back to Monday, you feel bad, and it's just kind of a vicious cycle. So during this process, and what was one of the triggers was just that, you know, okay, there's a system that works. There's a proven record of results with all these clients. So I decided to just bite the bullet and sign up and trust somebody else to take over, and the accountability was big. So I think that the identity change that I learned, I think also through all the educational stuff you guys put out and how you talk about, it's key for a lifestyle management solution is changing your identity, because otherwise it's just a quick fix. So I think that message is always there in the back of my mind. And I think it's informed a lot of the decisions I make, especially in social settings. When you go out and the temptation is there to just go back to your old habits. And especially when you come across food that you like and that you've not had because you've been through a long cut and so on. And, you know, the temptation is a lot of times is just to buffer hard because you know how to get away with it. So-called kind of, you know, hacking on the day. But I think that identity is key in the whole process, and knowing that you you can have a little bit now and then, but most of the time you should be eating the same kinds of foods and the same kind of portion sizes as well.
What do you tell yourself in these social environments that relate to the new identity that you're referring to?
So, is it in line with my goals? Is this food beneficial to me and my physique, and digestion, energy levels, mood, all that stuff? And do I need to have all of it, or could I just have a bite, or do I not really need it? And I think just having small doses once in a while is enough to feel good. And I think one of the biggest realizations that I had during my cut and after was my taste buds changed as well. So a lot of things that before I used to mindlessly eat just because they're there and it's there, so why not have some? A lot of them I lost the taste for them. I started realizing that why am I having this? When you know that you can only eat a certain amount of things off plan, if at all you're at that stage. Again, this depends on where you are on your journey and whether your coach has allowed you. You start to become a lot more selective, and you start to reflect a lot more about what you enjoy and really creating only a limited room for that. And you look forward to it. And then once you get it, you're satisfied and you move on to the next, in this case, week. So like, for example, during my investment phase, I would have one meal off plan during the entire time. The rest of the time it was, fixed meal plan, more or less. Same types of food I eat during my process phase and just larger quantities. And it was fine. I grew to enjoy it, and I still enjoy all those foods. Otherwise, I'd obviously be struggling because it's the same stuff over and over again.
So is your plan in this consolidation now to essentially expand on what you're eating now into bigger portions? Have you found the meal template that works for you now?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, and we've identified. I had a call with Nathan on Friday. We identified what we're going to add in and what the plan's going to look like going forward. But there's not going to be much of a change. It's just adding in more carbs and more fruit. And mostly the focus is going to be to remain eating high volume food and the food that fills you up the most. So, the first thing I've added is oats and sweet potatoes and fruit to what was my base diet during the process phase. And yeah, so far it's working well. I'm actually happy to have that back. I've not had a cheat meal yet, not had gelato yet. Although I'll be having some this evening. I decided to delay the gratification to an extent. So far, it's only day 2, so I can't get complacent. But already a big change from last time. Last time there was no plan, and I just went off track. And photo shoot was on Friday. Monday morning, I was up 2.5 kilos and, feeling really stupid.
Yeah. What is the plan in the next investment phase? Are you going to take, I think we spoke about it before, about, are you going to go more lifestyle solution, or are you going to try and be more aggressive with the muscle growth now that you've got, or you hopefully should consolidate this period effectively?
Yeah, I think this time it's still want to build muscle, but I would want to have a longer investment phase without getting as heavy as I did last time. So last time I pushed up to 93.5 kilos. So that's almost 15 kilos up from my shoot weight. So this time I wouldn't want to go that heavy, but I would like to have a longer investment phase. So holding current weight for longer and just slower progress, but focus more on really getting stronger in the gym and really applying myself in the whole progressive overload, especially with the current workouts. I'm actually finding them more difficult and more challenging than the gym workouts. Applying the tempo, applying the pauses, working with the little that I have, it's brutal. Like I think I'm finally starting to experience what you talk about, about, the anxiety before each workout, how you're going to beat the logbook, how you're going to, carry on progressing. So yeah, ironically, I'm feeling that now with less equipment. I think it's just understanding how intensity and tempo and all that works. I think, to be honest, I wasn't very consistent with that during the investment phase. I could have been more consistent. But it was a real eye-opener when you guys came down and, went through some sessions in the gym, trained with you and with Nathan. And when you learn firsthand how to train, the controlling, the tempo, and really connecting with the muscle, it changes everything completely. So right after you guys went back, I literally halved all my weights and went back to the drawing board and really started to focus on the tempo and getting a lot more videos. And so it's just building on that this time to build more muscle, because I think I'm at a point where it's difficult to add muscle just by going through the motions. I'm not a newbie anymore, or haven't been for a while. So that slight increase in muscle, there's a lot that needs to be done right and optimally just to gain that. So yeah, don't want to go too aggressive, but definitely want to have a longer, more productive investment phase. The last investment phase was basically just a bit over 9 months from end of consolidation to the time I started cuttings. This time I'd like it to go at least into 2022.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was going to say 9 months is very short.
Yeah. 14 kilos in 9 months was a bit too fast. And I was already looking quite fluffy, I think, when I look back at the January photos. So definitely this time, hopefully 18 months or more, and slower rate of muscle growth, and focus mostly on growing much stronger on all the movements. But I think I've done okay in this last investment phase. The photoshoot pictures, some of them you can see the bit of development in the legs and the back and the upper chest. So it's just working on growing bigger all over.
How are you finding dropping the ego with the lifting? Because I'm assuming that's why you're finding the home workout so hard, because you have limited availability of weight as well.
Yeah, I think. So with the weights I have, so luckily I live in an apartment complex, so we have an apartment gym with the cable machine and all that. I was thinking that Nathan would tell me to go and buy some dumbbells, and I would be there with my 30 kilo, 35 kilo dumbbells and replicating some of the same movements in the gym. But we're doing more high rep stuff with a lot of pauses and crazy tempo. So you don't have a choice to drop your ego, but to drop your ego, because you're not lifting heavy weights. You don't have heavy weights to lift. You have to get through the reps. And when you execute the tempo correctly and you really feel the muscle, and it's just you and yourself. So there's no distractions. There's nobody else in the gym to impress. At least in my case, I'm not in a packed gym with a whole bunch of other guys telling you go on, add some weight on and all that. It's you and yourself, and I'm also taking a lot more videos. It's a chance to get feedback because it's a new routine. I think it's just reconnecting with training properly. That's if you're going to make the home workouts count and not complain that you miss training in the gym, and this is just not, you can't progress. It's all about your mindset. So I think that's the key, and then obviously knowing how to train properly and having the right program. So yeah, for example, like Nathan's got me doing lunges, walking lunges. I'm only using 10-pound dumbbells, but I'm doing 50 reps per leg, and the tempo is 5-4-2. Yeah, 5-4-2, 5-4-2-0, I think. So that's brutal.
You're pausing at the bottom for 4 seconds.
Yeah, no, 3 seconds. Yeah, sorry, 3. Yeah, so 5-3-2-0.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's brutal. It takes, I'm doing 3 sets. It takes me, I think, 10 to 15 minutes per set, I literally feel like I'm
what you need for your legs.
Sorry?
That's pretty much what you need for your legs.
Yeah. So, and that's just the first set. So the first day I did that, I was literally dizzy. I thought I was going to pass out. in the gym. 2 or 3 times I came close to passing out. So I messaged Nathan mid-workout or after I finished the set, and he was just like, "Oh, good. I guess now you're finally applying the tempo." So it was just a massive realization, about the training principles and making them count, especially if you want to build muscle. Because otherwise, with any exercise, how do you know whether you're progressing or not, right? There gets to a point where you can't increase the weight, and so on. So yeah, so that's one example of just the difference it makes when you apply yourself and how you train.
How were you training for the first 20 years of your training career?
Oh, it was all over the place. I think I've pretty much done all the mistakes that you talk about. Program hopping. There's definitely poor form for a long time. I didn't start tracking my progress until we started RNT. Didn't track macros for more than a month at any point. Often didn't track on the weekends. In the beginning, I didn't train my back much. I didn't train legs for the first 2 years seriously. You're always just going light on the weight. So I literally did everything wrong. And I had a lot of long hiatuses from the gym, where I think over those 20 years, I probably had 3 or 4 periods of time where I didn't go to the gym for between 6 months to 12 months consistently, or even 18 months. Sometimes it was due to travel, sometimes it was due to just losing the will and the motivation to work out. So it was very erratic. It was really all over the place. In fact, the last 2 years have been the most productive. I'm going to be doing my 92nd check-in tomorrow. Those have been the most productive times. I've missed very few workouts during that entire time. I can probably count on one hand how many workouts I've missed. I've logged almost everything. I've tracked my macros. I've done my steps. I've mostly stuck to only a few programs, and every program I've got, I've really enjoyed it and just embraced it and taken it as a challenge. Never done that before. I think that's, for me, was the biggest game changer. Not switching programs and finding the exercises that work for you, and really just focusing on working on the technique and improving progressive overload. I can't even remember how many programs I've been through in the past. The times I think for a long period of time, I would even just, there was no set program. Just go in and do whatever you want. So you don't even know how many times you hit each body part each month, let alone tracking it. So, in fact, in retrospect, I'm quite grateful that I built all this muscle doing all that stuff wrong, because I probably wouldn't be training still if I hadn't done all that. I would have probably just given up and said, you know what, this doesn't work for me. It's my genetics, or some bullshit excuse like that.
Yeah. Talk about the 92 check-ins. What is it? How has the check-in process been so vital for you? How have you maximized your coaching experience?
Yeah, I think first of all, the first thing is you have to trust your coach. You have to trust the process, and you have to believe in the approach that you guys take. If you don't, and if you're second guessing everything, or you think you've got a better approach, then it's going to affect your results, because you're not 100% locked in. You're not bought into the philosophy. You don't believe in the process. So that's the first thing. Whatever reservations you have, you need to put them aside and really, otherwise you shouldn't really be signing up for this. So that's the first thing. Second thing I would say is building a rapport with your coach. And then the third most important thing is just communicating and keeping the lines of communication very open and very honest. And the more you do that, the more you get out of it. If you're not sharing all these things with your coach, then you're giving them limited information to work off, and they'll also then have limited tools and strategies to help you. So I think over the period of time, we've developed a good relationship. For a period of time, I wasn't completely honest with Nathan, especially when I was binging and restricting, and it didn't do me any good, to be honest, because there was just more baggage that I was holding. There was more guilt, and I eventually I came to the realization, and I just came clean, and I said, look, I've been doing this binging and all that. This was obviously over a year ago, during the first cut, and I found that at the end of the day, that's the only approach you should really take, just to be open and honest. We're all here because we're trying to better ourselves. We're trying to find the solutions and the systems and strategies that work for us. And if we don't share openly what our challenges are and what we're doing day to day, week to week, then how are we going to progress? And then again, if you don't lay it out and if you don't track it, then you can't measure it. And then if you can't measure, if you don't measure it and all that, then you can't manage it and improve on it. So I think hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Have you always been a coachable person in other areas, or was this the first time you'd been through a coaching experience? Because I know in your health and fitness, you said you'd never had a coach or anything. So how did you find having let the reins over to someone else?
Yeah. So I think, I wouldn't say I've done some personal training, but that was more for Muay Thai, for kickboxing. But there was no diet, lifestyle, holistic approach. It was like PT, but for Muay Thai. So I don't think that's comparable. So no, I would say I haven't. I've tried to be coachable, and I think I've improved along the way. But yeah, the process has been very good. The process has been very good, and it's been very beneficial. Initially, I think for a long time, I felt that prior to signing up for RNT, obviously, I felt that there was a certain stigma that I had, or a certain kind of reluctance or ego with regards to saying that you need a trainer, because I'm so passionate about fitness, and I knew a certain amount before starting this process. In essence, I knew what needed to be done. I knew what the basics were, but there's nobody to hold me accountable. So once that switch flicked, and I realized that that's the only way that anything's going to really change, then at that point I just decided to commit myself to the process.
What was that defining flip? The moment?
Yeah, I think I was just unhappy with the way I'd been looking for some time. And I think when I came across your website, I mentioned this to you. I came across an article you wrote for T Nation. And I was probably looking for a program to flip to program hop to when I went on T Nation. But when I saw all the transformations, and it was clear that there was a track record, there was a system that worked, and all these guys were also Indian ethnicity like myself. So I just said, what, this is what I need. I got in touch with some family, so Saki and Jazz, who you coached as well, got in touch with them and asked them, how does this work? And how did you guys get so ripped? Is it real? Did you really do it in this much time? And all that stuff. And they said, yeah, like you should definitely sign up. Like if you're doubting it, like don't even think about it. Just get on it. But I think I've been spinning my wheels for a good several years, if not even a whole decade. Literally been stuck at 95 plus or minus kilos for a good part of a decade before I signed up. And I think every year my body fat was just creeping up higher and higher. So I tried all the different shiny objects, intermittent fasting, keto, all that stuff, but there was no accountability. The accountability was what was lacking, and a clear plan and structure from how to get from point A to B. And with the amount of fat that I had to lose, it was something that would need a lot more structure than just a 4-week plan and then go back to your old way. So
yeah. What's your why now? How's it evolved? What is your why behind your why? What drives you to continue to make improvement in yourself?
Yeah. I think initially it was more physical and to a certain extent superficial, with regards to body composition and all that. Now it's evolved, especially after reading all the case studies and coming across all these people who are talking about the benefits of the physical as a vehicle. That's what I would say is now my bigger why now. It's using this as an anchor and as a stepping stone to continuous improvement across the board. The benefits and the transferable skills from this process are definitely there, and it's now just leveraging them into other aspects of life, just to have a better overall lifestyle. So whether it's having something we're working on this year is just building on routines, building on the same meal plan, same time to wake up routine, staying away from the phone for the first few hours of the day and the last few hours of the day. All of that has just meant there's less brain fog, there's more productivity, and you're just reacting less to situations. You're more in control of your day, and I think that's something I'd lacked before. Outside of the fitness, I mean, I didn't have a problem doing my steps and getting my workouts in, but then the rest of the day, I would find that I was losing a lot of time to these reactive behaviors and not having these strict kind of basic rules in place with regards to structure and all that. And I think when you have a routine with all these things in place, it takes out the thinking, it clears up a lot of your mind and your headspace with regards to the more important things that you need to face day to day. And I think we all have limited time, so the more of that you have in your day, then the more productive you can be, and the more you can dedicate time to, I guess some of the more pressing things that you need to deal with. This ultimately, but that's what I'm doing now. Is that during this last 2 months has been quite aggressive with the steps I've been doing and everything. But now I can reshift priorities back to other things. This was a short stint, and there's always that rebalancing of priorities. Yeah.
Amazing. What about the community aspect? I mean, one thing you've really done is inspired a lot of people around you. How does that make you feel? And is that an important driver for you to continue pushing for yourself, to continue to inspire others around you?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's quite humbling that I was able to, inspire other people to sign up for RNT. And I've seen the impact on them, because there's a number of transformations that you've put up, and even people whose lives have changed beyond the physical. It's also impacted my family. My wife signed up; she lost 7 kilos. My parents have gotten more active. I got them a personal trainer to come home and train them at home. My brothers also. So everyone in the family has literally lost weight. My cousin and his wife have signed up. It's a big thing, I think, because I believe in fitness being very important, fitness and health, with regards to longevity, with productivity, health, all those things. So it's good when that message is then kind of visible in a way that people want to take action for themselves to better themselves, and do something that maybe they've been putting off for a long time, like myself. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, what's next for Kunaal then? We've touched on it a little bit, but what's next for you? How are you going to use the physical as the vehicle going forwards?
Yeah, I think for me, it's expanding on the business that we have, the gelato business. So obviously, right now things are a bit are not normal with the whole COVID crisis and all that. But it's using these strategies and all that to help expand the business and scale it up, which is one of the big goals for the next couple of years. So, it's already something that I think we're working on, and it's starting to bear fruit. And when it comes to productivity and when it comes to your mindset, I think if you can do a transformation, there's basically anything you can do. Because I think the biggest challenge most of us have is revolving around diet and nutrition. And if you can get a handle on that, then you can channel that same mindset and the same skill set to achieving any other goal, really. So that's what I'm working on the business, and yeah.
Has it been affected by COVID? Are you still able to do deliveries, or?
Yeah, so we've been affected because most of our business is we supply restaurants in Nairobi.
Yeah.
So with most of the restaurants having shut down, we obviously lost a large portion of our business. But we're still doing the private deliveries and all. In fact, some of our clients are saying that we're in essential services during this time. So the machines are still churning every week. We're still getting the orders. It's just the individuals cannot order as much as a restaurant. So there's definitely a slump, but it's temporary. Hopefully.
It's only shipping in Nairobi for now?
Yeah, only in Nairobi, unfortunately, but hopefully with time to other
anyone listening in Nairobi that doesn't know Kunaal, where can they get a hold of this?
Yeah, so you can get in touch. Our Instagram handle is Need Gelato, @NeedGelato. So NDGELATO. And get in touch with us on Instagram or Facebook, same Need Gelato, and place your order or get in touch with us, ask us what flavors we have. And we've got over 60 flavors, all natural, handmade. My wife's trained in Italy professionally and has worked there in Milan. So the quality is second to none, I would say. Obviously, I'm biased. But,
I can attest to that. I when I came to Nairobi, I tried a couple of flavors. And they've definitely got some interesting ones as well. So it's not just your typical vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. I think there was a tequila one, a gin and tonic.
Yeah, the avocado tequila sorbet, yeah.
All sorts of things. So definitely check it out. Any parting words for the listeners, Kunaal?
Not really. I'd say just what a lot of the other guests on the show have said is just, if you're an RNT client, trust your coach, trust your process, and take the journey as a long-term journey, and take the long view. And I think you can't go wrong.
Amazing. Thanks for coming on, Kunaal.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for being here today on this episode of RNT Fitness Radio. I'd love for you to do a quick little favor for us. Please head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating, leave a comment, and share it with your family and friends. If you're interested in learning more about how to transform your body and positively change your life, go to www.rntfitness.com and explore all our free content on offer. Thank you.